And what that allows you to do is to tap in a conscious unified field. And the conscious unified field is, the way I understand it, is a field which exists outside of the mind. So you're getting people very simply out of their mind into a very subconscious state. And from that subconscious state, they can see possibility, they can see things in tangible reality for them. They can almost feel and experience it happening already without anything having have changed in their environment, right? Because all of this old stuff, which has been within the body, which is then connected with old thought patterns, with old memories and everything, starts to shift out. And suddenly, what's left is only this really high level of consciousness.
Hello, everyone who's listening today as well. Today, I have a very special guest here for our new conversation. And he is a special person who as well wants that leaders in the world get their own visionary and their unlocking of the limitless potential they have to transform humanity. But how he does it and how he went his own path to it, we will see. So I am happy to say hello to Sam Kukatav. I didn't know whether I talked it right, but you can repeat it.
Yeah, thanks, Beata. Yeah, my name is Sam Kukathas. Yes. It's a pleasure to be on the show with you. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sam, for being here. So we met at a very special place, which we maybe mentioned during our conversation. And as I just said, you are working with leaders, and leaders are the one who can transform the world. So how was your way? How was your path for this work you are just doing? Because as I know, you developed as well a special method to help the people get over their own blockages and stuff like that. So how was your path?
Yeah, I think it's useful to share, like, this wasn't always the predestined path that I was going to go on. The fact that I do anything around energy, sound vibration is really, it was not the predictable future, is one way of putting it. People invest good money to work with me around the work I do with sound. And yet growing up, I wasn't someone who could sing. And I was told, hey, Sam, don't sing in public. I remember having a girlfriend who would say, just a word of advice, if you ever dating someone again, just never sing. Right. So I had all these different stories around singing. So it shows you just how little you know of what's truly is possible, just to put that little sidebar. But my background was as an academic. So I was a philosopher for probably about 20 years. And I loved philosophy. I was fascinated by the study of the human condition and just looking at all the nuances of the human condition. Like, you would know me at a party because I'd be the person who would be talking your ear off about the 18th century Scotsman, David Hume. And I'd be known as the Hume guy. And that was the lens from which I was looking at life for about 10 years, until I got to a point where I didn't get my law doctorate at Oxford. And I really went through a place of, who am I? If I'm not an academic, who am I? And it was a really challenging experience, which was off the back of, a number of years of challenges around mental health, grief, parents separating, all sorts of different things, which were bringing to a fold this kind of crisis of identity. And that was when I first stepped into the world of personal development. And I discovered a new lens from which looking at Hume. The work that I was doing in personal development had me go, oh, this is like Hume. There's actually a practical use for philosophy. And so I started studying and training in these programs for a number of years, because I saw that who I thought I was something I made up. And there was now something more possible for who I could be in the world. And over a number of years, I shifted from being someone who never wanted to be a leader to starting to see that leadership was something within me, to see what it would look like to be a leader and to let go of different conceptions about leadership. And I guess one of the interesting things was I didn't want to be a leader because I associated leadership with authority. And I wrote a lot about the nature of authority as a philosopher for a number of years. So I was very, very critical about authority. And I also associated it with politics. So I also didn't want to be that. And it's funny now that I'm doing work to reimagine politics, given that this is the lens from which I was originally looking, right? So this was sort of the first piece of the journey. I think the next thing that happened was that I got the opportunity to work with someone in a confidential role who'd impacted millions of lives. And this was a very challenging environment. But inside of being in this space and making the role work, when I left there, I was really clear like, oh, there's something I can do which is way bigger than I ever considered before. So I started to look at, oh, what would it look like to have politics work? What would it look like to have law work? And that was, a frustrating journey, to be fair, because I was trying to change things from those who weren't looking to change anything. And it felt very lonely. It felt like, okay, no one really cares about this. And the shift in perspective came in two different directions. The first thing that I saw was in a plant medicine journey, a guided plant medicine journey in 2022. And, in that space, all of the different intentions that I had came up. And then in the next space, there was just a space to create. And in my awareness, which is like an hallucinatory state, if you haven't done a plant medicine journey, I was coaching people like the then Prime Minister of England, Boris Johnson. I was coaching very established people in the personal development field. And I was also coaching someone who I was going to then later on do my energy healing work with. And the next message that I got, which really, made me question everything about what I thought I was here to do, was, Sam, you're here to heal all the bullshit in the world. And for me, there was a chance to go, okay, this is something I could just see as absurd. This is a hallucinatory state, which a lot of people do. Or I could look at, well, what if there was something here about what I've seen, which could actually be valid for what would be in my highest potential? So I took that route in terms of choosing which way to go. And suddenly an opportunity came to do an energy healing course. And I remember very clearly, I didn't know anything about energy healing. This was not a field of, I had a curiosity about it. I'd seen something a year before, but I think my partner at the time had sort of said, hey, watch out. Like that's probably like sort of snake oil. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I've been gullible in the past. Like that was a story that people had for me when I was growing up. So maybe it's just Sam being gullible again. And in this case, what happened is I discovered, oh, I can actually do something really powerful with energy. And it was called channeling. And I didn't know what channeling was. It was just very instinctive, where I had this pain in my body. And I was able to not just release the pain, but transmute it. So the pain went from being in my stomach to being in my hand. And then the energy ran all the way down my body, beyond my feet, and out almost like a Marvel character is the best way I could describe it. So I could move energy like this. And the energy was about a foot out beyond my hands. And I didn't really know what was going on, but I started speaking from a different voice to the person who was leading the course. And I said, hey, I don't love your business programs, which I've already done, but you're a great healer. Why don't you focus on that? And I think he was a little bit taken aback because he's leading a course to 150 people. But he was great about it. And he said, I've actually considered doing that, but I also love the business side of things. So I thanked him, and I took that skill set, and it was the first kind of step to seeing, okay, it's really easy to get people to peace, but what are we going to do once they're in a state of peace? And this is when I started to take all of the training that I had as a philosopher, getting to the root causes of what was going on for human beings, and started to see, well, what can we actually create from this state of peace? And this is where the neuro-energetic method that I have now really started to unfold in the first piece. Now, there's more I can say, but I want to give Beata a chance to speak before I say the next part.
Yes, thank you. It's so interesting. I could listen all over, so I don't have to ask many things. But what I'm interested in is, how does your perspective of leadership has changed through this awareness, through this space with the plant medicine and stuff like that? Has this had an influence as well?
Oh, I think absolutely. to put this in a strange sort of way, one of the energy healing courses I was doing recently, I was looking at things like, what is it that I say I want to create? And is there any resistance to doing that in reality? And one of the games that I was playing is coaching the next US president. And I was able to get to a place where, okay, yep, I'm ready to do that. If that was the opportunity, I can do that, no problem. And then that someone asked me, but what if it was Donald Trump? Now, I spent a lot of energy, like probably a lot of different people have, not being someone who wants to see Donald Trump back in power, and even writing about that from a philosophical perspective. And so that question, I could feel the kind of the angst in my body around it. And then what I noticed is this sense of just sending love and forgiveness to him. And in the space of doing that, I let go of any need for control about whether or not he was going to be the next US president. One, I'm Australian. I live in the UK. I don't have any direct control. I don't have a right to vote in the US. Like, there's literally nothing that I'm doing which is going to directly impact that outcome right now. So it made no sense to spend my energy there. Two, I saw that who better than me, if he does become the next president of the United States, to actually have him step into being a conscious leader. And so then I could let go of the worry about whether or not he would be or not, right? So my perspective has become something where anyone is capable of stepping into conscious leadership if you have them surrender and allow themselves to experience their experience, to get out of the way all of the bullshit, which is stopping them from being in the condition of what it is to be a human being, which is loving and peaceful.
And you said as well, love and forgiveness. And yeah. I think this is the main thing, because first we have to forgive ourselves, whatever we have done, whatever we have thought, whatever bullshit we ourselves brought into the world, and to love ourselves. And I think this is a main thing which is very difficult for the most of the people, because they are always looking outside. Yeah. So
absolutely.
What I got from what you just were sharing, that you as well got a totally different connection to yourself through your experiences.
Yes.
And is this the reason why you are now so in your power? So because you experienced another power within yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Like I do a lot of internal work on not just letting go of old patterns within the body, but also to then, not just shift what's there, but then to expand what's possible. When I hired a particular mentor around energy, I said, hey, I want to be able to shift group consciousness. Is that possible? And she said, oh, yeah, it's simple. All we need to do is expand what we can do beyond your physical body. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that was a possibility. And so that's the work that will happen, where it's like, okay, what internal shifts need to happen to surrender to the level of power, not an egoic power, but power that's within, to be able to be the space for all of it, to be the space for the transformation of humanity. Not like it's all up to me and no one else is doing anything, but like, if you come from the space of, okay, if you're the source of transforming humanity, then there's a way I can look at what there is to do, which gives me freedom to choose, like, what is actually going to lead me in the fastest direction to impacting 1 billion lives or more in my lifetime? If that's consistent with that, then I'm going to do that. And that's how I met you in the first place, Beata, because going to Antarctica was, well, what's going to help, propel all of us who are on this mission to have humanity really work? And it was like, well, being in Antarctica with a huge number of conscious leaders is a great opportunity to really step into that in a new way. And we were having this conversation as a consequence of that.
Yeah. Yes, of course. This was one of the consequences. And I see that as well. There are different layers, so-called. So I will say it, so to speak, where consciousness takes place within leaders, right. So as well as a leader and being with a conscious leader, there is still more to develop. And from my perspective, so what we are seeing here now in our body is a soul aspect. It's not everything. And when you explain this space from my point of view, it's my higher soul. It's what I really are. And if you can teach people to get into this space, who they really are,
Yeah.
then we are able to change, really, we are able to change the world.
I 100% agree. It's having seen how sound impacts people's cellular, what's going on at a cellular level, not sometimes just from their current life, sometimes from the DNA of past experiences beyond the lifetime that they have known themselves to live in. It's just remarkable what people will actually discover from their own brilliance. I think people spend so much time, especially in the consulting world, giving advice. But most of us are clear that advice is only useful, one, if we've paid for it, or if we've actually then discovered what's being advised about for ourselves and see the validity of it. Otherwise, the cognitive dissonance will keep coming back up, and you're like, you're trying to change me, I don't want to do that, and there'll be all the resistance that's there as a nature of being a human being. The difference about the way I operate with the neuro-energetic method is I'm not giving anyone any advice. I get people to create an intention of what they want to create in the world. And then I look at what's slowing them down from creating that. And I look within the body with them at what that actually looks like. And we go back, what is that? Sometimes I'll ask a question like, when you feel into what you're feeling in your body and you feel this discomfort in your chest, well, what's the age of that energy, right? And when I say the age, I mean, like, are you 5 years old? Are you 20 years old? What do you sense about that? Because when you can sense what that energy connects with, you can also sense what that actually might be about. Because the thing that you're dealing with right now has nothing to do with really what you're actually experiencing in the present. It's always about something which is felt within the body at another point in time. So if you can clear this other piece of what's gone in the body and acknowledge these sensations which feel unacknowledged, then there's an opportunity to let go of this old pattern and to create a new one, right?
Yeah, an intention within intention, a new
100%.
pattern with intention. So are you using this sound method, which I was participating when we were in Antarctica? Can you explain what you are doing there and if everybody can do it?
Yeah, sure. So essentially what I'm doing is sound has a resonant frequency, and there are lots of different resonant frequencies. And there are also within our body, as my friend Dr. Larry Farwell talks about, who's the author of The Science of Creating Miracles. And as I've talked more and more to him about what I do, he's like, okay, well, it's what it sounds like essentially is you're breaking up this resonance in people's body through these resonant tones. And what that allows you to do is to tap in a conscious unified field. And the conscious unified field is, the way I understand it, is a field which exists outside of the mind. So you're getting people very simply out of their mind into a very subconscious state. And from that subconscious state, they can see possibility, they can see things in tangible reality for them. They can almost feel and experience it happening already without anything having have changed in their environment, right? Because all of this old stuff, which has been within the body, which is then connected with old thought patterns, with old memories and everything, starts to shift out. And suddenly, what's left is only this really high level of consciousness. And from that high level of consciousness, we then go back into what the intention was, and we look at what are they now seeing. And I have people create companies from this kind of work, where literally we'll use the sound as a mechanism for amplifying the power of their intention in terms of creating it in reality. And with certain clients of mine, they'll literally download, and by download I mean like for 20 minutes they might have a stream of consciousness where they'll share what it is they're now seeing or what they're creating now in their company just from hearing the sound. With other people, it's a back and forth where they'll see something and then I'll use the sound and I'll ask questions to tease out what could be a bigger version of this compelling vision. And the more you flesh it out, the more something wants to emerge, which is beyond what they previously thought was actually truly possible for them from this new space that they're in.
Yeah. So I think that is beyond the normal imagination. because the normal imagination still comes from the mind and
Yeah.
has always referral points, so that I don't allow myself to step over into the next dimension. And these sounds are, so to understand everything, the sounds are doing two things. They are helping to get rid of the information which is already stored in the cells. And then the next step is, because of my body is now open to receive, then new information can come in. Is it the correct process?
I think that's spot on. You've explained it even more, much better than I did.
You can use it.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it. I don't think there's anything more to say about that as a process. I think what constantly surprises me is just how much you can create with it. You know,
And
I
you
mentioned a little.
you can do it online as well.
Absolutely, I do a lot of the work that I do online. You know, a lot of the clients I work with are in North America. So, and I live in London. So the fact that it's just as effective online, both with an individual, with a group setting. I think the largest group I've done is for 200 people. And, you know, I've seen people have breakthroughs within 15 seconds of hearing a sound, which talks a lot about the power of the amplification of energy of a group, because that's unusual in terms of what would happen by the individual level.
That's absolutely unusual. And I listened to your sound because I was in the group. We were, I don't know, 25, 30 people.
Yeah,
more.
something like that.
Yeah, like that. And let me say it like this: you are creating the sound because you get information, and then I just assume your body does what it does concerning the information you get, and then a sound appears out of nowhere through your body. Is this so?
Yes, I think there's two parts to it. So I think you've got it spot on. And as I've done this more and more, I'm more accustomed to being able to cultivate particular sounds for particular aspects. So for instance, if I'm working with people to create more love within the body, so sometimes people will feel space or lightness within the body. And when that happens, I'll invite them to look at something which creates a feeling of love within their body. It could be a person, it could be, you know, the dog, it could be an experience, whatever it is. And you can do this right now as you're listening. And as you do, you can close your eyes and you can just allow yourself to get connected with that feeling. And as you get connected with that feeling, this, you know, you're starting to activate the neurons within the heart, right? Which can sometimes be really shut off for people. And as that happens, I bring through a sound which is at this much higher frequency to amplify the amount of love that is ready to come into that heart space or wherever else there is space opening up in the body. So I'm already clear about what that sound looks like. With other sounds, it's more like, because we have energetic chords when we work with people, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. When I'm working with a group or whether I'm working with individuals, my sense is that I'm synced in to the energy of these people. And so I can, my body is able to tell me, okay, this is what's needed. And so I trust in whatever wants to come through rather than try to figure it out.
Yeah, wonderful. Because of this, you are raising the frequency of everybody who is joining you, or of everybody who is listening to. So when you say, okay, there is a specific, maybe specific tone because of your experience right now, opening the heart or healing the heart or bringing the heart into a more loving, full energy. If you would do a demonstration right now, would that as well have an influence of all the people who are going to see our conversation?
I would imagine so. Like,
Okay.
I have a lot of people who watch sessions that I do from a virtual perspective. So if we use you as a demonstration, when we can do it, for sure.
Of course. Yeah. Right. I'm ready, open.
All right, great. So how long do you want this demonstration to be before we kind of go in?
I don't know, a couple of minutes.
Okay, great.
We have time, if
Beautiful.
somebody doesn't want to listen anymore, he can close it. So we are
Wonderful.
free. It's our conversation.
Wonderful. All right. So let's just look at something which is really important to you right now, some intention that if you could experience more of that in life, that would make a difference in this moment.
Should I talk to you what it is,
Yeah,
or
please. Yeah, just
where
share with me what it is and share with me what you feel around it in your body.
So my intention is to bring my program for entrepreneurs, for women, more into the world, because I want to lift up women who are doing a good job or having businesses to really become conscious leaders.
Beautiful. And when you express that intention, what do you feel in your body?
I feel a little bit of tension here in my
Okay,
chest,
great. What's the intensity of the tension in your chest?
holding me back.
And if you were to give it a number, that holding me back on a scale of 0 to 10, what would you say?
8.
Great. And what's the emotion that's connected with the holding you back?
It's some kind of fear.
Yeah, great. So let's allow that fear to be there. I'm going to bring some sound through and then I might ask you a couple more questions about it. The energy feels a little bit lighter to me, but what are you experiencing? If you would give me intensity on a scale of 0 to 10, what would you say it is?
3.
3. Okay, amazing. So tune into that energy now. And what do you see it needs right now? Does it need acceptance that it's there? Does it need love? Does it need to forgive someone or forgive some belief or judgment or to let go of something?
To forgive myself my own judgment.
And what's the judgment that's been there?
I'm not consequent enough.
Ah, beautiful. And how old is that judgment? If you were to give an age, what age do you feel?
5.
Okay, great. So what I invite you to do is to picture the innocence of that 5-year-old girl in front of you and see if you can picture her and tell me if you can.
Yeah.
Great. And now what I want you to do is I want you to speak to her from a place of love and compassion to allow this forgiveness in. Say whatever words need to be heard for her to bring this forgiveness in.
I love you, and you are wonderful, and you are complete.
Is there anything else she needs to hear?
I support you.
Yeah. What does she look like now? Is there anything that's shifted in her expression on her face? What do you notice?
Yeah. The word safe came as well, so
Beautiful.
I'm safe now.
Beautiful. And this is such an important thing to create that safety within us and safety for that little one who all that energy, is residing within us for those who are listening. And the more safety you have, the more you can do these extraordinary things. And as you connect with this little one and she feels this safety, what's the intensity you're feeling in your body now?
It's it's nearly gone. It's like only a shade, something.
Beautiful. Yeah. So
So,
let me bring some more sound through just to amplify that.
mhm,
And I want you this time to bring love in again.
mhm.
Allow that love to filter into wherever it feels like it's most needed right now. Feels a little bit clearer to me. What are you feeling though?
Joy.
Mm,
Something rises up like joy.
yeah, beautiful. And so now when you think about creating this program, what is present to you?
It's like a golden color which is coming through,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing myself on a stage in a huge auditorium
Mm.
talking about it, and having the courage to do it in both languages,
Oh,
English.
amazing. Oh, I love that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And if we kept going, we could create even more, right? But
Yeah.
your listeners might not appreciate that. But this is just a small sample of what it
Yeah.
looks like.
Wow. Yeah, this is great. So I feel good. I feel fine. It's something different. Wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think explaining something is useful. Experiencing it is another dimension
Yeah.
because then you don't have to try and figure it out. You can just notice and experience whatever you experience. And as if you're someone who listens back to this, my invitation is to close your eyes and to experience being the person in the chair. Because if you can experience that rather than being a passive watcher, like you're watching television,
Yeah.
that's when you have the opportunity to actually experience whatever shift there is possible for you in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and if somebody listens to it now, he can as well do their own thing, I think, by while listening and closing their eyes and getting into their own movie, I would like to say.
Yeah.
And yeah, has this as well now something to do, or is this the next step with your neuro method?
So the methods basically started with taking people to peace, and then from getting them to peace, having them start to create what they want. And then what happened last year is that the tools that I had to utilize got amplified. So it went from me being able to use my breath to bring peace in and sensing from, okay, it feels like some pieces get gone or there's something physically shifted in someone's physical body, to being, okay, now sound wants to come through as the new upgraded toolkit. And so I utilized the sound inside of the neuro-energetic method to help people create anything they want so they can disappear anything so that they can create what's most aligned inside of transforming humanity from this new space that's awakening in them.
That's wonderful. Wow, that's wonderful. So we can find you on a landing page, which we have put down, or we will put down under this video. How can everybody or who wants to connect with you can reach out to you?
Yeah, so before we do that, I'd love to share a little bit about the picture of what I see possible through this work, if
Oh
that's
yeah,
okay. Yeah.
wonderful.
So what's been fascinating to me is, a lot of people do use healing as just for internal healing. But
Yeah,
what I think is interesting is if you think of, if the world created was sound, then that was a creation. So what could we create truly in the world in a harmonious fashion from sound as a resonant frequency? And the way that I've seen, and I've got a lot of different visions in breathwork sessions and et cetera, different kinds of modalities which have given me information, was okay, there are different possibilities that you are meant to actualize within your lifetime. There's work that you're meant to potentially do with people who are looking to find cures for cancer, because imagine how much time and energy and resources are spent around trying to find cures for different kinds of cancers. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of time. And there's a lot of people pulling in that direction. And the ways in which they're going to go about it are most likely going to be cognitive. They're going to come from the existing way in which they see the world. Now, more and more people are trying different modalities. In times of desperation, there was an Australian doctor who basically ripped up the rule book because he now had a brain cancer and he needed to find something. So he and his colleagues were looking at ways outside of the box. Recently I think there was something happening in space where it's like the cancer cells develop really fast, so let's see what's going on because maybe we can disappear them really fast given what's going on in space. So people are coming up with all these different brilliant ideas, and my thought is, okay, what would look like if we used sound to have people experience their experience around all the frustration, around the resignation, around the fear of, if we actually solve this, would we go out of existence as a job? Right? Because I think that's something that we don't often face, is that you are both trying to find a cure for something, but then if you find a cure for it, what is your reason for existence? If you're an oncologist and your job is to heal cancer, well, if you've done that and there's no longer cancer to heal, what happens now? Right? So I think these are serious questions that we have to confront, and I think this is a way in which we can confront it all. And from the space of creating space within the body, as you saw me doing with Beata, there's an opportunity for them to see something around what's possible around finding cures, which doesn't exist from the cognitive space. There's tapping into this conscious unified field. There's an opportunity for them to step into, oh, okay, I can now see this. And imagine the energy of a group of brilliant minds coming together, and they're now hearing these different possibilities, and now they hear something from that, and that activates something in them. So the way I'm imagining this is essentially a collective space where all of these different experts come together, and they're all amplifying the consciousness of what becomes possible in the space of this collective vision of seeking to find a cure for cancer, or all these different kinds of cancers. So that's one space in which I'm looking, and there's a few others, but see if you want to share anything or say anything about that before I go on.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So would you then have to focus on a specific cancer or only cancer, because there are different modalities of cancer? So yeah.
I think it's a great question. The short answer is I'm open to all of it, right? I'm open to going, okay, these people are focusing on blood cancer. Let's get the experts all around the world who are focusing on that and bring them together into this somatic collaborative hub where we can see what truly is possible in that field, because they're all literally going in the same direction, right? As opposed to just the generality. But I'm also open to, hey, let's bring all of the different experts. What's common about all of these different cancers, which might be not being seen, which if we saw something new, or if they saw something new, not me personally, then from their expertise, they're able to, create something which could actually eradicate cancer. And look, I don't know what's truly possible, but the vision that I keep getting is, look, Sam, there's something for you to do around this. A very good friend of mine passed away back in 2012. And the last message I got in October was, he didn't die in vain. One, you're doing the things you love, which was his motto, and there's something about the impact that had on your life, which has there be something for you to do around helping people find this cure, right? So I just, rather than going, that's an insane thing, I've just said, all right, that's the third time this has come up. I wasn't looking for that to come up. It wasn't part of my intention. I surrender. I surrender to any kind of cognitive understanding of why that would be, and look to move in the direction which allows that to be possible.
Yeah, and while you were talking, I just got the information. What if really the experts come together and during this work you are guiding them? Everybody together will find out the real core of the existence, which we don't know yet. So then we could cure everything. So then we could cure any disease.
I love it. I think that's the beauty of these conversations. You get to see something, and this isn't even with sound. Like Beata just tapped into something which has her see a possibility which is outside of my purview. So it's already a demonstration of what opening our mouths and sharing what we're now seeing creates as a possibility in reality, right? And I'll share another space from which I'm working. So right now I'm building a course which is going to reimagine political leadership. And this is, again, using this method, building politicians from the ground up, because, I know that a lot of people spend a lot of energy worrying about politics. So if they didn't have to worry about politics because you had actually the best political leaders in the world, or the best leaders in the world in politics, conscious leaders, then they could start to focus on other things. They could start to make sure other aspects of their lives work, right? And so that's one of the spaces in which I can see, oh, I can uniquely make a difference there,
Yeah.
right?
And this is extreme different from everything I ever heard. And so it really takes time and effort to collect these people, or how you get the contact to these people that they are willing, for example, to get in groups and
Yeah.
are doing this work.
Yeah. Well, the honest answer is I'm working with a company who are committed to ethical political leadership in the 21st century,
Mhm.
and they have a lot of different connections in politics. So they can share both from their own experience of working with me what it's like, and then they can share the possibility of what this program is. And when I speak into this, I'm talking about literally having the role of a politician work, because the role as it currently is doesn't work, right?
No.
And the
Mhm.
more I've shared this, more people have gone, oh, I want to do that. I want to help create a new political leadership program, a party in Australia, and I want every single person to go through your program. When you open your mouth, you create an opportunity for something to actually happen, which wasn't going to happen otherwise.
Yeah, yeah. And so the mouse spread the mouse. So
Exactly.
yeah, as we did when we were together in the stewardship and talked about these kind of things. So we have to spread it out, yes, so that we create an environment for our children and children and children. So a healthy world and a healthy environment. Yeah,
Yeah. And the final space I'll share about is around finances.
yeah.
So, I didn't grow up. I was it was middle class. I had everything provided for, but I didn't have a strong relationship to money. I used to hold on to it tightly, but I also had a lot of fear around it growing up. And as an academic for a lot of years, I put myself in a position where I wasn't working outside of doing academic work and teaching and anything like that. So it took a lot of work to be able to shift my money blueprint so that I could both receive investments which were beyond my own kind of conception of what was possible, but also to you know see that, okay, all of these other stories that I had, these subconscious thoughts that I had around money, were things that I could let go of. And so I do a lot of work with people around shifting their money blueprint. The other day, for instance, someone says, hey, I want to be able to hold the energy of hundreds of millions of dollars so I can work with these kinds of people and have them invest over $1 million to work with me. Can you help me with that? Okay, sure, no problem. Right? Because all it is, like, we know money is just an energy, and yet we can sometimes get to a place where if it gets to a certain number, it gets a bit scary, right?
Mhm.
And so all I do with them is go to the root of all of it, right, and get them to experience, and then have them get to a place where they can get to a point where, oh, that idea that was there before is now absurd, so they can experience receiving it and have no fear around it, and then they can start to take action consistent with it. And when I was in Argentina, I got the opportunity to do some work with two people around their financial future. And, one of these people had quite a scarce view, and that's understandable given the Argentinian economy. But by the end of that conversation, she was in a different world. Like, the possibility of receiving, I think it was 300,000 US dollars by in 12 months' time was like, oh, that's actually something she can see now. So I thought, okay, what would it look like for all the boats to rise together? What would it look like to create something where everyone around the world, no matter where they come from, had the opportunity to shift their money blueprint? So one of the conversations and inquiries that I'm in is, okay, how can I make that possible? How can I create something which is going to activate abundance, so allowing for material prosperity for everyone around the world?
Yeah, because when you live in abundance, you can share more, you can influence more, you can give more, and we have more time to have such conversations we have right now to change the world. Really,
Yeah.
it's wonderful. Yes, thank you so much, Sam. It was wonderful. So, is anything else you would like to put on now again? So,
I think, the final thing I'll share is, I was really moved by what I discovered around a sustainable future for our planet in Antarctica. I watched an incredible documentary called 2040, which I recommend everyone watch if you have any interest in the future of the planet, by Australian actor and filmmaker Damon Gameau. And as I watched Damon present this beautiful story of what it looked like for, as he was telling this story, basically, I think his 5 or 6 year old daughter, for what the future could look like in 2040 if it went well, and what the future could look like if it didn't go well. And all of it was from using the existing resources that we've already got. And I saw, okay, there's a lot of people doing incredible work to create this future. And at the same time, there's a ton of anxiety, there's a ton of resignation in the world about whether that can truly be possible. Part of that's around politics, but there's not just politics, right? There's the problem's too big, what can I do kind of feeling, right? That we often have. And so what I saw is, well, what would it look like to actually create climate change stewardship, where you're dealing with all of the chaos, dealing with all of the fear, the anxiety that's present for people around this, and then creating the space within the body for them to now see what aligned action they can actually do. So my plan is to create a program which is going to catalyze what's actually possible in creating a sustainable future for our planet.
Let's just do it. I'm in.
Amazing.
I'm definitely in when this group comes together and we can do this work for our planet. Of course, I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your wisdom, for your sharing, for the demonstration with me. It was wonderful experience being with you, Sam. It is a pleasure, and I feel honored to get to know you, and I hope you can spread your work throughout the world.
Thank you so much, Beata. It's been an absolute joy to be with you and to witness you as well, right? To see how quickly you stepped into that future was beautiful to just experience. And that says a lot about the power of you and all the work that you've done over the 30 years plus that I know that you've been, in the world of energy and vibration.
Yeah.
And the final thing I guess I'll say is, if you're looking to connect further with me, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn, or you can find me on Instagram a little bit nowadays. And if you type in Sam Kukathis, you'll find me. If you type in Soul Purpose Leaders, you'll find me on LinkedIn. That's the name of the company that I run. And basically what we do is we unlock vision to transform humanity.
Yeah. Soul Purpose Leader. Wonderful, wonderful title for a company.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sam.
My pleasure. Bye.
Thank you for watching. Click on one of the videos below to continue your journey and tell others about this channel. And please subscribe.